I love creating beach themed Christmas ornaments and other doodads. Let's Resin has some new circle molds out, and these are the perfect size for some beach themed Christmas ornaments, gift tags, and charms. Watch the video and see how I do it. All right, so these are the new circle molds from Let's Resin. Well, I don't know if they're new, but they're new to me. And they come in different sizes. So there's little ones that look that like they could be either pendants or maybe keychains, some larger ones, and they're just various sizes. So some of them are the same size. I think these are maybe the same size. I'm mainly interested in the larger ones today. And what I want to do, and these do have a hole, so like a little hanger hole. So these look like the perfect size for Christmas ornaments. So I think I'm just going to work on these 4 today and set these aside for use later on. One thing I like about the Let's Resin molds is that they always put the ounces on their molds. So this whole sheet right here is 3.9 ounces. I would round that to 4. And this one is 4. And then this one that I'm going to be working on is 4.9, so I'm going to round it off to 5. But that's for if I were to pour in all of these. But I'm only going to be working with this one. I'm going to use my Let's Resin leveling table. Can you tell it's been well loved? It's not used, it is loved. Get my level out and make sure, always try to check it manually. It's never bad to just double check it. Find this a little bit easier to see than the little bubble, but bubble's right on it. I'm going to make today are some Christmas ornaments, and I want to recreate these coasters. What I did not do in these, what I wish I had done on these coasters, was add a line of like the chunky seafoam mix, and that'll be good to show y'all too. So the nice thing about these is that they're really thin. I'm going to make them as Christmas ornaments. These don't need to be perfectly encased in resin. So I did do a top coat on this because they're coasters and they need to be flat, but these don't need to be flat. So I'm going to do something probably a little bit different with the sandy part. Okay. My fingernails are so dirty. You know it's been a good day in the craft room when your fingernails are dirty and you got paint on your hands. Actually, I've been doing some gardening. I'm using sand from my beach that I've already cleaned, dried, and sifted, so I can use the smallest pieces. I don't want to use great big pieces of shells because these little circles are kind of tiny. I can use the big pieces for other things. And every once in a while, you can find a little shark's teeth in here, a piece of sea glass. But I've already washed out all of the fine sand because it just really clouds up the resin if you use the fine sand. And then, so this is just like the tiniest crushed shells and rocks. I am going to use the Let's Resin Fast Cure today, and this is 4.9 ounces for the whole sheet. I'm only going to be using these, but I'm only going to do a partial. So I'm going to do my sand layer first, and then once that cures or is partially cured, I can go back in, put my chunky sea foam, and then do my water layer. There is no secret really to perfect resin mixing every single time. First, measure accurately. 2, mix well. And 3, use the right resin for your project. The Let's Resin Fast Cure is a casting resin, so it is perfect for these. Okay, now I'm going to mix the sand directly in the resin because I want the sand to really get saturated. I don't want to put resin in the molds and then pour the sand on top or vice versa. I want the sand itself to be fully saturated. And I'm just going to go ahead and use the rest in this cup because if I have extra, I can always make some of the little smaller ones. All right, so I'm going to end up making these 4, and then probably these 2, and then these 2. So the larger of the molds, because I could probably use these as ornaments or keychains, but these 4 are going to be ornaments. And all I'm going to do is put a spoonful just like that. I don't care if it's level or not. Oh, look what I did! The hole's right there. Ah, crap. Okay. Let's shift this down. Don't do what I just did, okay? Don't do what I just did. So the reason I don't want it level, or I'm not really worried about it being level, it's really over the level of the mold, is because these are going to be ornaments. So it doesn't really matter. I actually kind of want it a little bit chunky and a little bit elevated, because then it'll look more, I don't know, 3-dimensional, I guess. It's not a flat piece. So let's just leave it at that. That's probably a little much, but that's okay. That's too much. That's too much. Okay. That's okay. Let's just do this. I did it again, didn't I? Oops, I did it again. Okay, so I'm going to let these cure up. Actually, no, what I'm going to do next is clean all that up. So wipe up the sand, wipe up the oopsies. I'm not worried about getting it all up, because think about when you go to the beach, isn't there sand in the ocean? Why, yes, there is. So I'm just cleaning it up just a little bit. You could probably use a baby wipe for this, as well as maybe a Q-tip. But I'm just getting out a little bit of it. Kind of neatens it up. Okay, it doesn't have to be perfect. I think that it adds to the uniqueness of it and the individuality. And that's just my opinion, and I am sticking to it. I just got some new turtles and then some new starfish. So these small ones are going to be tricky to put these on, I think, unless I get really tiny ones. I'm going to take my gloves off, because it'll be a lot easier to dig these out. All right, I'm just going to have to dump these. I want to get so these, I'm going to try to get the starfish where it's going to be in the water more. These, I'm not so worried, because those are going to be ornaments. And I got yelled at on an older video for having my starfish upside down. They're supposed to go like this. This is how they are in the ocean. But I kind of like the pattern and the texture on the underside. But this is my art, and I'm sticking to it. This is what I want to do. So these are little starfish that I got on Amazon, and they have different sizes. So they have the bigger ones like this. And then they also have smaller ones. This one's missing a star, but I can kind of embed it and you won't be able to tell. They have all different sizes, which I think are kind of cool. And so you just kind of have to pick out the ones that you want. Okay, so the starfish are done, and now I'm going to put some turtles on. And I found, and so these are spacer beads. The hole is in the middle. And I do still have some of the little tiny ones. Actually, these came all in a pack, didn't they? The little tiny ones. These are flat on the bottom, which is really, really nice. But I only have just a handful of these little tiny ones. I think just one turtle on each one. I think that's going to hold. That should hold. And then so the little tiny ones I'm going to put in the molds where I think I'm going to make a pendant. I don't know yet. I might just use them as like gift tags. I think that'll be cool. So these are spacer beads. They have the hole in the middle. Okay. And I did get these on Amazon, so I will have a link in the description. They are very inexpensive and they lay flat. You don't have to use turtles and starfish. You can use anything you want. But that's what I'm going to go with. All right, now we're going to let this cure up a little bit more and then come back and do the chunky sea foam. Okay, it's only been about an hour and this is setting up really nicely. It's still sticky, but it's not 100% cured. So I'm going to go ahead and do my next layer. Chunky sea foam is next. So this, and let me move this. So it's a mixture of Mod Podge and dish soap, and I definitely need to make more. It's 4 parts Mod Podge and 1 part dish soap, and then a little bit of water because you need the water to help create the bubbles. The dish soap creates the bubbles with the Mod Podge, and then the Mod Podge gives the bubbles structure. So as the bubbles dry, they dry as bubbles. It's not, they don't just pop everywhere. Make sure your fan is off and you don't have like a cross breeze, okay? Very important. I need to make some more though. Okay, so this is about 20 milliliters of dish soap. This is Dawn Blue dish soap. So I'm going to pour that in my jar, and then I'll need an entire one of these with Mod Podge. Just happens to be the glass Mod Podge. Okay, and then I'm going to add a little bit of water. This Mod Podge is really, really thick though, so I may need a little bit more water. So I'm going to shake it. I'm going to mix it up. Yeah, that's perfect. What I find works better though for creating bubbles is just a straw. So I have a plastic lid with a hole poked in it where I can put my straw, and then that way I can blow through the straw. That way I can blow and not have bubbles going everywhere. And we want the small bubbles. And I like to use a silicone spoon. I want to pop the bigger bubbles and then just kind of scoop out these little small bubbles here. I'm just going to kind of put them on the very edge of the beach like that. This mixture doesn't really produce a lot of bubbles, and it's a little difficult to get bubbles, but they dry beautifully. So this now needs to fully dry away from any kind of breeze at all. Okay. So I'm just going to set this aside. I think I'm just going to set it in the shelf in my closet, and probably it's going to be tomorrow before I can finish these, but I think that will work. Oh my. So I did let these dry overnight. The bubbles are soft, but they're going to be soft. Like they're not going to be hard, but they're structure. So when they dry, the Mod Podge allows the bubbles to retain their structure and not pop. And they're kind of like, it's glue, so they're kind of spongy or flexible, rubbery. All right, so now I'm going to mix up my resin to finish these. And once again, let's resin fast cure. And I am going to use my mixer because it will save my hand. And start, put it on the high speed, and then set the 2-minute timer. Woo. Now this has some bubbles in it, which when I'm doing an ocean scene like this, I almost welcome the bubbles because they just fit. So I'm going to split my resin into 2 cups, and then I want some clear. Y'all hear Finn? He's barking at something. I don't know what it is. All right. So pretty even amounts. Let's put a little bit more in there. Okay. So 1 cup, I'm going to put the aqua mica powder that I forget the name, but the link is in the description. It's on Amazon. I don't want it to be real opaque. I want it to be semi-translucent. So I'm only going to put in a little bit, probably 1/8 of a teaspoon, okay? And the 2nd cup, I'm going to use the turquoise liquid resin dye from MICAS Resin. That is my absolute favorite. I am not kidding. And it's 1 good drop in there. And look at how luscious that color is. Oh my. I'm going to do the aqua close to the shore and then the blue out here. And I'm probably going to do a few at a time. This dog. Okay. That's really pretty. That is so cute. I'm just going to let it blend by itself, honestly. I think that's fine. I need some clear resin on top of that, don't I? I need the clear on top of where the little waves are. That'll work. Because I covered it up here. That's okay. I can fix it. Probably should have put the seafoam on top of the sand. Not showing up real well. I think it's still going to be cute though. I think that'll work. Okay, let's do these now. So this was a little bit of a trial and error, but what I'll do next time is add the seafoam more on top of the sand part and then put a light layer of clear resin on top of that. I want to be able to see the seafoam. I don't want it buried under a bunch of resin. But the aqua and blue resins are really blending beautifully, aren't they? I think that's all I'm going to do. I've got some little bit of leftover resin. Okay. So these are a little bit rough around the edges, but that is okay. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and just demold the ones that I'm going to use for ornaments. And then I can run these on the sander an even amount. I love the back though. So here's an idea that I have for the back next time I do them, and I'm going to be probably doing another set right now. Since these are kind of two-sided, I think before I put the sand down and any of the resin down, I'm going to put a starfish and like another turtle on the back. That way it truly is two-sided. But these turned out really, really good. I like the I like having the chunky seafoam visible on the back side, but I think on the front side, I want it more visible on the sand. So that's just a little learning for me for next time. Yeah, these turned out really, really good. Look at that. That turned out really good. A lot better than what I had anticipated. So these are a little bit smaller, but I can still use them as ornaments, I think. Let's get that one. Yeah, I love it. These turn out really good. I like this mold. And then all these smaller ones, I'm not really sure if I could maybe use them as keychains or wine bottle charms, maybe gift tags. You could almost use them as gift tags. So I'm not sure. I'm gonna have to think about that. Like, what could I use these for? What could I use these for? Let me know in the comments what you think I could use these for. Because, you know, I don't sell jewelry. Like, I don't make and sell jewelry in my art show booth. That's just not my thing. Would these make cute pendants? But I don't know if I want to sell those. I don't know. So I could use the sander, but I don't want to scratch my resin. I think I'm just going to use my deburring tool. So this is a deburring tool I got on Amazon, and this is a kind of a flexible little scraper, sharp scraping blade. And you can just really pretty easily just take off like the rough ridge that you can kind of get sometimes on resin molds. Okay, let's get some hangers on these. I added twine at the top for the hangers, and that's pretty much it. These turned out perfect, and I think they will be hot sellers at my upcoming shows. The beach is my jam, and it's also what sells the best in my area. Give these molds a try and just come up with your own jam. And remember, always make it a crafty day, friends.